I broke it down into how I make films. The book started by like it was 8 Instagram stories I posted, and then I decided to elaborate on it just to get all my processes out, and it became the book.
In the room, 52 Jokers Wild.
And this is the first time I've actually used the teleprompt, so hopefully this will work out as well. So, on a live show. So, all right, here we go. Let's have a go. Hi, folks. Welcome to In the Room with Garvin and George. This week, our guest is Frank W. Kelly, award-winning...
George, I'm going to stop you before you start because you're looking up to God. You're about 2 foot up in the air with your eyes reading the teleprompt.
Garvin, I have to look there. I'm recording straight into my camera.
All right, good man. No, I was just checking there because it looked ridiculous on my side.
I'm doing what you always do on your side. All right. Oh, you're always looking into the camera. That's what it is. Oh.
I'm over there, yeah.
Because
I forgot that. Frank.
You kind of go that way.
No worries.
Ah, dear. See what I have to put up with there, Frank?
I hope all this behind the scenes is going to be broadcast as well.
No, I want this in. This is recording. We want this in, George. There's nothing to give out about.
So we're just using a teleprompt for once. Okay, let's try it again.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Okay, he says, hi, folks. Welcome to In the Room with Garvin and George. This week, our guest is Frank W. Kelly, award-winning independent filmmaker and author of a new book, 8 Simple Steps to Making Your Short Film. Over the last year, he has made a batch of films using the ethos of one day, one location, 2 actors, using whatever is at hand, like the mobile phone to shoot. So it all sounds very exciting. So welcome to the show, Frank. We've got that little bit over and done with. We normally have our clipboards and things like that. Normally we have things, I've got tons of stuff here that I normally grab and sort of see what I can use. And I think we're probably following the same kind of ethos as you are with, look, let's get out there and make a movie. Now, Garvin has been telling me, no, George, you've got to make some money out of this. You've got to do this properly. It's a business. It's whatever. So how do you balance that kind of, I want to get out there and make something with, I've got to generate an income and make sure the kids can afford to go to school?
Yeah. The balance is the tricky one, especially when you're an independent filmmaker, you know. For me, it's, I kind of work on and off. So I work part-time as well. I work as a painter decorator. I work as whatever I can get. I worked at Apple for a long time. I had a full-time gig going for a long time. Wasn't much filmmaking going on then. So I had to find a way to strike a balance between film and the income. Now, film has never paid me. It has a couple of times. There's a few of my films that have sold and generated an income. But the business side of things, perhaps Garvin can kind of educate me on that side of things, because I'm very independent, you know, and the stuff is kind of small scale. It goes out to festivals, it hits YouTube, it can win awards. I do generate some sales out of it, but generally I don't make an income from filmmaking. So it's... All
right, no, I'm going to jump in, Frank. Now you've armed me to the teeth. You know, the great thing is you're on the same journey as ourselves, and we're just all meeting now because we all went off to work. We had to do the day job. We had the passion and creativity is in us somewhere wanting to get out, but we couldn't figure out how to make it pay. That's my journey at the moment, in sense of I was the accidental accountant, but I actually realized I've always been an artist. I've always had a creativity side of me, which I never let out because I couldn't figure out the payment. George, same thing. He's worked in the film industry for years, but we want to finance our own art. Not the art, but our passion, but we want to make it pay. I spotted yourself on LinkedIn or Facebook, or I stalked you from a number of different points, and we picked out the fact that you're an award-winning X, Y, and Z. You've got the passion, you're packaging it, but now we're letting the world know it doesn't yet pay. But when you looked at that was your ad, that was your portfolio, that was to get the next gig, to get the one that will pay, or to find that elusive investor, because you're saying, I have an art, I'm able to package it, I'm able to win awards, but the bit I'm missing is business 101. I need to make it pay, and then I have it all. I've got the sustainable, let's do it again, let's find a family of the film family I want to work with, and that's what you have. You've got the family, that's like Roisin, and Mo O'Connell, they have the people they want to work with. They enjoy what they do. But an awful lot of what we're hearing in independent production is we have to have the second job, the day job, the part. We want, if we can just get this to pay, then this is the job. If that makes sense.
Well, it perfect sense, because that's what the book is about. It's about, and the project I've worked on this year, I call it Gaps, which is about finding gaps of time to be creative within your kind of daily life. For me, it's kids, school runs, part-time jobs. But what happens then is you kind of forget that you're creative. You let the creativity fall by the wayside. And what happens, it has this kind of detrimental effect on you, on your mental health, you know, because you're not doing the thing you're passionate about. And you're kind of just joining the dots and, you know, coloring by numbers. You're not kind of living your full life, so to speak.
George, he's been listening.
He has.
Jumping in here, Frank. He's now what you know. The thing is, you might be in the universe. We don't know. We've 100 shows out there. You've quoted from 3 of them just in the one sentence. My throwaway comments is, "We'll join the holistic dots. We'll find the." And the weird thing is, it's what everyone says. We're working. We don't want to work to live, or I should say, we're not here to live to work. We want to work to live. We want, and we want that passion. The passion thing you touched on is that's what everybody wants, if we can identify it. And joining the dots is what the game is about. Most of the time, you're in a silo, and if you don't step out of the silo and join a few more dots, there's no way you can empower that journey. Or most people can't empower the journey of passion.
Well, one of the things that I found that's interesting, because we're talking about the passions and trying to make sure that you get those. I worked as an editor. I went to film school years and years ago, and then I became an assistant editor, worked my way up, became an editor. But you were working constantly on someone else's project, which is the same experience that you'd be having as a painter director. Because I've worked in other areas, but I've taught. But you're always working to somebody else's script, if you like, and it's never quite the one you want. You can get a creative input, but if you get burnt out by that, you suddenly realize I'm going off track. And Garvin says no, but you should go off track and go off road all the time. That's one of the things he said in the show. But you do have to get that balance. And I found that I'm constantly going back to reading those source materials that led me into the film industry in the first place, even watching the movies that inspired me. And you want to get out there and do that. And it is just trying to fit that in. And I'm doing what they call the artist's way. And I'm on week 75 of doing 3 pages a morning during the week. Right, and it's inspiring ideas. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What's causing me problems? But it also means I'm observing life, where story comes from as well, which is why I think it's very important to encourage people to go out there and do their jobs, because that's where the source material comes from to create the stuff. What we're looking at now is how do you package that so that we can go out and do a meaningful shoot that covers the story that we need to develop and get it out there to an audience. And again, I think we're all in that same kind of sort of boat. So tell us a little bit about your filmmaking process so we can align it with what we're actually doing, see how that fits into our model.
Yeah, well, the process I've gone through this year is brand new to me. It's I've been making films for 20 years, and I kind of went all the way down the road to in the room with real producers, booking a big gig that would change my career. And, that happened twice, and it fell through both times, just for one reason or another.
That's the main one, Joe. Frank, that's the word. Yeah. It's the financing. Now, actually, I'm going to stop you for a second, because the synchronicity in your sentences is very, very interesting. You were twice in the room with the executive producers. You're twice in the room with the executive producers now, because that's who we are. And the show is in the room. And you're now in the room talking to the direct, effectively, our journey is to be executive director, producer, financing shorts and features. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that hidden in the room as well, which is interesting. So I like where you're going. Keep going.
Sorry.
Well, what I did was it was a difficult time for us, like as a family. Financially, we were broke, and we decided to emigrate to America. So we went over there, and I still tried to get films made over there, but ended up just having to take a full-time job and just work, and got a job at Apple, and that was just full-on production. And I kind of just wasn't happy. So when I moved back 3 years ago, we were there for 5 years. I decided to just start from square one. So the new films now, it's that, like you talked at the top of the show, the 1 day, one location, 2 actor type films. And I said, there's a way here that I can package this to, generate some income, but also get filmmakers like us back into making films again. And from that comes more films that I could sell, short films that I could sell, the book, which is something I can sell, but then packaging that together into like workshops or something like that I could then generate an income for myself throughout the year, where I could provide practical filmmaking workshops based on my career, while still making films in the gaps, and then hopefully leading on to bigger films, more production value, a budget.
I love the language. I love the language.
Absolutely,
You're actually mirroring a little. Actually, you're mirroring the last 15 shows, because now actually you're actually ahead of the last 15 shows, because you realize Roisin said the production value. We've got to capture the production value. But the value only appears after the budget has been spent or invested to generate the production value. Now, most time when we're pitching to investors or to get the budget, we have to pre-sell the value that hasn't actually been budgeted and hasn't been created, and we don't know if ever it'll be paid. And that's where the catch-22 in micro-production predominantly is, because the investors left the market. We've said this before: sub 1 million, sub 2 million, highest risk on the planet, don't know what the return is. But we know what's in there it's the biggest value. It's the creativity package of these up and coming artists that want to get their testimonial something before they go off and get the day job, or they hope they'll never get a day job. They hope this is the day job. But you're playing an indie production. You're saying, I don't want to have a job in a 50 million something and have to get another one next year. I want to be part of the machine. I want to be generating indie production. I want to be doing this with my family and friends and my film family. And this is resonating with us, and I think myself and George and everyone we spoke to in the last 15 weeks, because they're all the same ilk. I'd love to be making money doing this, but that's hard when it's a short. Most shorts aren't sellable. You need to be getting a very big win something, and even then, what you get for that in monetary terms, you got to have a day job to pay the mortgage. So it's this risk reward profile. But we know where you're going. You've just said it in one sentence. I want to go from micro minimum viable product of 1 actor, 1 day, one place, 1 location. Get it right. Do it again. Go to 10. Go to 1 million. Go to that sub micro budget. But I want to play there. Or do you want a job in the 50 million space?
I'm happy enough kind of at the moment, because I went for the 50 million space, and I probably at the time, I'd say it would have been about 8 years ago, maybe a bit more. I wouldn't have been ready then. I had made my first feature film. I was kind of moving into bigger films. Like the next one would have been a 3 million budget. Then the one after that, maybe a 10, 15 million budget, realistically speaking. And those are the ones that kind of collapsed on me. Now I'm kind of happy. I kind of have the next 3 years lined out. Like I'm finishing this year with the book. Next year I've got a specific project lined up that will help me make 7 films. And then after that, I want to get back into a feature, and I've kind of broken it up into the way I want to film it is keeping this kind of 1 day thing going, but doing it like in a month of Sundays. So shooting it the end of every month. And then I thought what I should do is each of those scenes, I've broken the script down up into like 10 episodes. Kind of like what Michael Winterbottom did with The Trip. He made a series and then he recut it into a movie. So that's kind of the plan, is a year-long web series to then re-edit into a feature film. So that's
you've
kind
broken it down into bite-sized chunks.
Absolutely.
You basically said, I can do this. And that's great. Yeah.
What are you doing in your in your 1 day shoot? How much material? Well, how much material do you shoot, and how much on-screen time do you normally get out of that 1 day?
But I could get up to 9 minutes. I'll write a script that's between 5 pages and 10 pages. and then we just kind of hit the ground running. We do a rehearsal. The way I break it up is I do it over a month. So I'll have the script in place. I'll cast it. There's usually some money. It's between 500 and 1,000 to pay the actors and food and that kind of stuff. I'll meet the actors on the second week. The third week we'll get into a space and rehearse it, and the fourth week we shoot it on the Sunday, and we'll be there from 9 to 5. And it's a really pleasurable day.
Yeah.
It's a nice day. We're well prepared at this stage. I designed the scripts that it's usually kind of a conversation. So the first one was in a cafe, the second one was in a car like this, and then the third one was 2 monologues. So I shot that in my garage. So it's trying to be creative in those kind of spaces. Yeah. And I suppose, Garvin, what you were talking about, production value, the value then comes from casting the right people, getting good actors, getting the script right, and dressing the set like as much as I can. Because that's one thing where no budget indie films always fall down. I have a tendency to fall down is poor production design.
We've been talking about
on that yesterday, which is hard to believe.
We were discussing that yesterday.
Where the great thing was, it's a role with, like, as I said, we're working with Padraig Brennan on a horror script at the moment, and we're just going through the script analysis. So from the accountant perspective first, going, okay, I want to know what the budget is. I want to know down to the task and activity, down to the time of day, how many people are there, they're getting their rate, they're getting what are they having with their cappuccino, because you can plan all that. I'm used to business intelligence, data analytics. It's the film by the numbers is what interests me to start with. Then if I have the numbers, then we're saying the creativity will generate that revenue number later on. That opportunity only will manifest if we've got the crew there at the location. We actually were looking at the Portaloos yesterday. Yes. I'm thinking there's 25 people there, and George is saying, does a bear do in the woods? Because there's 25 bears hanging around looking as if they might need to be finding a bush sometimes shortly. And this is the amount of planning. When you start moving from the $3,000 to 325 people, that location you're talking about needs to have a couple of Portaloos. It needs to have a canteen. It needs to be able to have the coffee and the muffin, because they're going to be there for the 10 hours or the 8 hours. And I worry about those sort of things and go, the money needs to already been spent before the line was ever read. But now we're saying, I love what you're saying is you're creating the product. You're actually mirroring what Padraig Brennan said as well. He was saying, I will create the film with what I have. I will dress up the scenes with my connections and my film family. Everyone there is not expecting the full market day rate. They want to basically invest in the opportunity of the testimonial that this thing is giving them to shine. And that's what you're doing. You're saying you're generating opportunities. These are not for the film, people that have already made it. These are for the future ones aspiring that need a stage to perform.
And that's what happened in Fiddler's Walk, was the film that I made, a feature film. And again, using the same principles, we used whatever we had available to us. And we only had to find the money for the 2 lead actors because everybody else was there 3 days and they wanted to be on the film. And some of those people, even though they were only there for 3 days of the shoot, appeared throughout the whole movie. They were popping up all the time in the scene. But we managed to use about 5 or 6 locations. There was a pub, but we built it out of 4 or 5 different locations that were exteriors and interiors. And we just found the resources. We said, look, there wasn't any actual money spent on it, but it was the equivalent of about £300,000 used in that budget, because we had contracts with everybody and everything. And some of those people went off and got careers out of, in fact, Roche Bronoir, who played the barmaid, went on to become the barmaid in Hollyoaks for multiple series. Oh, wow. And she's recently been in The Fall. So again, you don't know who is going to launch what career out of what you're actually giving them an opportunity for. So what was, in your own feature film that you said that you made a few years back, my film was made 14 years ago. I've made another one 12 years ago, which I'm still working on.
There's one coming up. Yeah, there's one coming up anytime now.
There's one coming up. It's just the technology. I got one of those too. Yeah, but I mean, it's just a case of keep on going. But how was your feature film that you made those years ago different to what you're currently trying to do now?
It was. I think the difference there was the film's called Derelict. We shot it for about 10,000, but everybody worked for free. So the value that I got for the 10,000 was like, it was probably a 60 to 100,000 euro film. We shot it over 10 days in nights in a warehouse, no, an old mill house in Slane. And I suppose the difference was that it was kind of all crunched together. It was a traditional shoot in that I had a week of rehearsal and then a week on set, and kind of spending all the money at once, instead of what I'm doing now is trying to space it out a little bit, because I just physically can't do a block of time like that at the moment.
Frank, I'm going to jump in, sorry, and be very, very rude. Yeah. There's the weird thing we're finding out is if I'm reading it right or wrong, I'm normally wrong. You're saying, this is how I can do it because this is how I can do it because this is how I can afford it because I work a month, get a day, get the budget, do again, do a bite, and we knit it together by the end of the year. If you were in a position, the money was there, would you be actually doing it the opposite way and you'd be doing it full on, start again, full on? Or is it, as you said, it's just based on I'm doing it and I'll do it whatever way, which way I can. But if the order of money changes, I would actually be doing it all in one go.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was a feature film, I'd jump on and I'd block off that time. So then what ends up happening is that it kind of becomes more like a creative challenge, and how can you make that creative challenge tell the story in that way? The feature film I'm talking about, it's set over a day, but I'm talking about shooting over a year.
Yeah.
Now that's unusual because
actually, I love it already because someone's going to spot the continuity editors who have a great time looking out the window in the background. It'll be snowing, it'll be raining, there'll be plagues of flies. Yeah. It's going. It's interesting.
But but it ends up creativity. It gets my mind going, and I'm thinking that's actually great because it's over the course of a day, but a year is passing behind the characters, and it tells the story of it's this guy's last day on Earth. He's suicidal.
It's a long bloody day, though. 365 days long.
Yeah, exactly. But he's carrying this thing with him.
It's not dog years anyway.
No. He's living a dog day, yeah. But that's what ends up happening. Is like, okay, how can I make this a creative challenge? How can I take my limitations and use them to my advantage? But yeah, if I had the money, I would block off that time, and I'd work.
No, there's the weird thing. Now we're back to, unfortunately, George hates this, and I keep on saying every show I'm not going to talk about it, but it's back to the same thing again. What is it you're doing? What is it the product is? Do you believe in it? What's it worth? If it was sold, all you're doing. That's what our journey is. We're going, are we creating a multi-million-pound product? Are we actually creating an investment opportunity for someone to get a better return than putting the money in the bank? Because actually, the couple of people we talked in the last couple of movies, like actually, who was it? James, he effectively was able to turn his head in one introduction, get a six-figure sum to fully finance the feature of $100,000. And it was from one new investor into the indie market, and his buddies have more money than sense, and they are not they're not looking for returns of a certain nature, or they're not looking for it to be back by tomorrow. What the weird thing is you're saying is you've got a skill set and an ability to package other skill sets into creativity that will be of entertainment value or informative value to an end audience that's in massive demand currently. You're the skill set and you're the link to that. Most of our fears are that the people we're missing is this other person that is more comfortable with raising the money or doing the marketing or business development or sales. And that because those bits are not in our core crew, we're doing it the way we can do it, eking along based on, well, we're doing it and we're going to do it anyway.
I'd like to jump in there on that one because, I've just been working on a project for the last 6 years, and I've actually pulled out the project from being a producer director to just hiring out the material that I shot back to the group because it was just taking too long to actually get anywhere. And the difficulty is I know that particular person has spent 20 years working on that project, but they haven't done anything else. They've just dedicated their whole life to that 20 years. And the problem is you kind of go, well, what are your skill sets? How are you keeping those going? Now, when I was working as an editor, you went from one program to the next program to the next, and you were constantly building up your skills. so that people could recognize what those are. And I think when you do go into that role of becoming a producer, because it can take such a long time to get, if you don't keep on making short films or short somethings, people then start to forget that you exist. And you're starting from scratch all over again. And I think that's really, I know we've discussed this quite a few times, Garvin, but it's just suddenly hit me that that's really why the filmmaker, the reason why you keep on making stuff is because you're trying, that's your art form. And I know
that's your calling.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you don't practice, you start to lose some of those skills. So you've got to find a way to practice. Now, I'm like yourself there, Frank. I have worked in the industry, but I came out of the industry because more and more I was being pushed into an avenue that I wasn't interested in. I also then became a lecturer and then started making my own feature films, doing exactly the same way you do. And it does work. But then we had some family issues in the sense that we lost several people. We started looking after others and the time escaped. And then there was another film that became a cuckoo that came in and sucked the time out of me, with lots and lots of promises, and then it didn't work out the way I thought it was happening. And that's one of the reasons why I think we get to that point where you kind of go, I've put my faith in so many other people's. And even the end of Roshin's show, Garvin starts talking, if you listen to the very last bit, his roundup, he says that everybody else really does end up letting you down somewhere along the line in a not so nice way. But the thing is that that's the problem.
I was joking.
Yeah, I know. But the reality is that actually happens,
Frank, the weird thing is, and if you probably know some of your shows, the guest is usually lucky to get a word in edgewise. We're going, actually, we're told you're meant to be cognizant of the guest. You're meant to ask them questions. Yeah. It's there. We're going, no, sorry. You're just there so we can give out to each other. But I mean,
for the last couple of years, it's been me and Garvin doing it. And I'm the only one that's not going to get a chance to talk.
I'm going to swing back around and go, you have I read your little bit of CV up. You've done your 10 and 20 award-winning feature shorts that led you to go, I've got a process. It's my 8-step book. And if I can round up what I learned from that bunch, it's in the book. And it's going to be a good one for making shorts. And it's a process. But at the beginning of the show, you said, you're now, what I was trying to get to is you're armed to the teeth for the jump. You're going, it's that's what I see. It's going, you can do another award-winning short or another one after that. But why it might be the calling, it might be the passion, but that is not going to be the career maker breaker. That's going to be the door opener. So the thing is, I think investors are ready to listen because you've proven when I do something with little or no budget, I win shit. And my team, who I pick, are award-winning and they're good. And I can have an eye for talent, and I've got the film family, and that's what I attract. I've got the relationships, I've got the opportunity, I know how to package talent. So where you are at the moment in my books is you're ready, and you said it yourself, you're ready for the jump. But the jump we're talking about is from a 1-2-man silo to a 30-man team capability of production process.
Well, that's kind of where I am at the minute. It's like I've used that phrase, I'm like a dog in the traps, and what happened this year was someone gave me €1,000 was a bursary from the local art centre, and I made 3 films and wrote a book with it.
It'd be dangerous if someone gave you money.
I know, well, exactly. And I'm like, so it's like I'm ready to go. Like I have the skill set, it's that kind of thing, and I have the scripts. I've got the horror script, I've got the sci-fi script, I've got the
I'm going to ask
drama.
you a question there, because I love asking this question right now. I asked Roisin what was in her handbag, and she said 17.5 million, right? Because that's her script that's in the bag. Porix is the next one out, is about 500,000. I think we were talking to a couple of other people before that they said they want to break the 1 million sterling mark. So they have, what they have is they've gone from the $5,000 to the 50 to the 500 to the 5 million. The journey of their own script, or how much they're the producer director of. So what's in your proverbial handbag right now? If you had an investor looking around the corner going, we're ready to go. Is it the 500,000 one? Is it the 300? Is it the 5? Is it the 50?
Yeah, I've got one that could be done for $250,000 or 500. It would just bump up the value of the casting, It's called 10 Days in December. It's a romance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a romance. It's about a couple who it's actually my story, how I met my wife.
Is
we
it a
met at
horror zombie
festival.
apocalypse
Yeah,
romance?
exactly, yeah.
Because we need to make it one. If it's
And there's a werewolf thrown in there as well.
good, no, we're back to normal.
So it's a Christmas movie as well. So it's very marketable, and it's Irish American. So we got the Irish market, we got the American market,
Well, you do know that Squid Game is on the moment. It has to be in 95 languages. There's the rest of the planet. I'm not happy with the Irish American market. I know it's 50 million people, but you got to translate this into 72 languages.
Oh yeah, that's no problem. We're on that.
Well, the love story works well, I think. So that's good.
Yeah, we've been on that one for a while.
In the one sentence there in Business 101 talk, you have the section 481 in the proverbial man bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go.
You're looking for investors. You have an investor tax break. You're talking the language of three in Ireland. The weird thing is that £250,000 something is £500,000 of earnings of something else that has to have that money available to invest at the most micro level of raising finance. It's not there's something wrong with that. There's a million millionaires in Hong Kong. There's more money than sense out there. If you just go to Conor McGregor's pub, he could probably just open his man bag and cut you a check there and then. So what we're trying to say is sometimes the fear we're talking about most of the time is the fear of the unknown function that we aren't comfortable with, which is who are you going to tap for £250,000?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something I think we as artists, we don't have that language. We're not taught that language. We don't go to business school. When I studied animation, there was no business section, the business of film, because it is the film industry, the film business. And that's what we're stepping into.
You're doing a great ad for us at the moment.
Yeah,
George's going to cut this out later.
No, I won't be cutting it out.
The business of film.
It's good.
We love it. No, and no, the great thing is you just touched on it again. All the last 15 shows was the journey of people that were either coming from editing, now becoming writer, producer, or script writer, realizing to get their script out of the drawer, they've got to take on more hats of business development, production, or they got to find someone that's going to invest in them or the rest of the team. Especially if it's under this 1 million mark, whereby it's a blind spot. No one's going to hand anyone the money in macro industry. They're here for their 50 millions. They're Marvel, this, that, and the others. They want 5,000 jobs. But micro production is, in my view, for my perception of it, it's the art form of passion. It's how do we get that passionate art form packaged and manifested so it can get consumed and seen. And there's a figure that the business of film has to wrap around that, because it takes money for this to happen. And it's not an inconsiderable sum. And you can't sell your house twice, and you can't tap your parents and your family and friends every single time. So where we are all as a common factor right now is you've got the stories, you've got the belief in the story and the scripts. It's all about the talent and the story and getting it to screen to be seen. So we're on a journey of the uncomfortable business, sales, distribution functions, which though they look as if they come last, actually come first.
I think we also, one of the things that I'm being reminded of, because we used to watch the new wave cinema of Germany and France and all those from the 60s, 70s and 80s and things, that a lot of those filmmakers were independent filmmakers. They were independent from the studio system. We've now got into this habit with the studio films that it has to make its money back in the opening weekend, otherwise it's rubbish. But, Casablanca, a 1942 movie, made its money not in the opening weekend, but across the last 70, 80, whatever years it is since then. Do you know what I mean? Those are critical things. It's 80 years ago since they actually made that film.
George, if I'm the investor, unless I get cryogenically frozen, I'm never going to see me money back.
Yes, but no, hang on a second. That's because you're thinking that it has to be a fast buck very quickly. I think what we've also got to do, we've got to start thinking about where do our films sit within the way, and it's about building up an audience over a long period of time, which is where I think as filmmakers, I had this problem with Fiddler's Walk. I got it out there, fell into the trap of it needs to be a break in money over the last year. But since it came out, which is now 16 years ago, it's had a bigger and bigger audience. And I should have been selling it more over those 16 years, because it's still potentially getting an audience. And that's what we've got to do. We are investing in these projects. We need to start looking at how we market those projects as a group of filmmakers so that we build up an audience long-term that will bring back that investor. Because the other thing I think with the Section 481 one that you were talking about, Garvin, is that when you get that, you're asking someone to put money into your project over a 5 or 6 year period or something to be able to get, so they don't suddenly take the money back straight away and bankrupt you. So you are thinking about, how do we make money out of this over the next 5 to 6 years and build on that idea? That's what I think is an important avenue to go on.
I'm going to let Frank back in and go, because I'm swinging back around to this book.
Yes.
I'm going, in the book, it's 8 steps, simple steps. Are they not meant to be a bit more complex? Or is it should be 10 steps? Why is there 10 steps?
Well, I thought 8 steps has a nice ring to it, you know. But
you're doing the 6-minute abs versus the 12-minute abs. I know it.
Exactly, you know. Yeah. Someone's going to release the 7 simple steps to making your short film, and I'm screwed.
Well, there probably is 7. It's just there's an extra one that they forgot. That little ingredient in the mix that's missing if they don't do your 8.
Yeah, I broke it down into how I make films. The book started by it was 8 Instagram stories I posted, just kind of like a blurb that, hey, this is how you make your film, and I had to fit on an Instagram story, and then I decided to elaborate on it just to get all my processes out, and it became the book. So it was really for myself, but then as I was going through it, I was like, well, this could benefit other people, you know, other people who are like me.
There's a great language there, Frank, because we keep on saying that ourselves and we throw it away. The first customer is you.
Yeah.
The best customer is you. The only customer that matters is you. And if it works for you, you are atypical of an audience. You know?
And the best way to actually learn something is to teach, which is what I've discovered.
Yeah. And it's hugely satisfying to me. Like I love that aspect of filmmaking. I love the community. I love the family around it. I love everything I discover. I instantly give away. It's like, here's how you do this. I just figured out how to do this.
Right, I found your problem. I found your problem. Right.
I'm giving stuff away. I need to charge.
$1.99, $2.99. All you got to do is put a price on it, because the weird perception is if it's for free, it's worth nothing. So you have to charge. Even discounts. I come from a business background. If you said even the concept of a free point, no, you go. You don't use that language. It's basically the buy 2, you get 1 free. There's a certain mentality with it. No, it's not free. It's value. You're selling value. You want to impart that, and you're given extra. There's extra. You got an extra 30% or something, but you have to buy. People have to. Free minutes was the biggest concept in the telco industry, which I used to work in. No, what they got you doing was buying a bigger volume and paying in advance instead of arrears. They'd know chasing the customer. They get the money up front, and you bought more than you'd ever use. So you actually touched on your 8 steps. It's going to be a jump to the workshops. So you're saying this is your investment in your branding and marketing of, this is a taster, but you're not going to get it out of that. You're going to have to step into the higher value workshop. You need to come to me. You'll buy the book and see and read why you need to be talking to us. Yep. That's what you're really saying. You're now looking for the rest of the team again to go, you're throwing out your hook, and you're fishing for the people that are hungry to become the filmmakers of tomorrow. And the short is the entry. But the weird thing is, the short is the hardest thing in the market now. It was the entry in the past. Now they're saying, don't bother, knit 8 shorts together and make a feature. It's your promo pitch, but it shouldn't keep on costing you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And I found that what I was doing, and I kind of put a stop to it this year, where I was giving advice for free.
Yeah.
And I was giving my time for free, and I was doing favors for people. Like, they'd ask me, hey, could you read that script and tell me what
you're
you think?
You're a giver, not a taker. You got to exactly. We have to value ourselves first, and we can decide to give it a bit extra, but it's not free. You're giving away the most valuable thing on the planet. Your time, your live stream time.
Let me just, because I'd like you to go back to that process that you went through, Frank, because you were. There's a realization that you started to see because you were giving that time free. Just tell us a little bit about that process that you went through and why you changed your mind.
Well, I help out a lot of people like with scripts. Not so much script. Well, I suppose it is script editing, but it's they'll give me the script and ask me to read it, and I will, and I'll give them notes. And that could take up a couple of days of my time. I'll do it over a week. You know,
I've got a full-time job for you. I'm quite happy to give you that all day long.
Or like there was a friend recently who asked me, "Hey, do you know of any locations in your area for a horror film?" So I actually went on a location scout.
Location manager for free, script editor for
exactly.
free.
There you go. I got to the end of the day and I just realized I've been walking all over town. I've been taking photographs. I've been getting numbers from estate agents.
You've been paying your own petrol, your own travel and subsistence. So it's not even free. You're actually paying them to work for them at no cost.
Yeah. So I drew a line. That was it.
Yeah.
I said, I'm drawing a line out of this. Like I have to be earning, like there's value here. And the thing is, what happens is if I'm not getting paid for it, then there's a little bit of resentment creeps in, or a little bit of not even resentment, but it's just, I don't want to do this. But if you pay me, then we form a partnership and I will go above and beyond and give you more than you ask for.
Now you have it. The above and the beyond bit is, you'll give when you want to give. You'll give the extra, go the extra mile. But there's the takers and the givers, and the takers will keep on taking. The givers will only give when they can afford to give and keep on giving.
Yeah.
But it's time. What's happening there is the time, the value of that time is better spent with your family, your friends, anyone else. If someone doesn't value that time, then the strange thing is, if you don't value that time, they certainly won't. So what's happened there is that realization is we've got to realize they're asking for the most valuable thing at no cost.
And what we've actually been doing over the last 2 years now, 3 years that we've been doing is, if anybody comes along and asks me to go off and do something, we're actually now saying, well, you need to compensate Garvin because he's going to lose me for a day or he's going to lose me for a week. And unless you pay the rate that Garvin wants for that loss, that compensation, I'm afraid I'm not available. And that's been extremely useful because it's given me a sense of value to what my rate is of a day and what I should be earning. And really, until, because Garvin was talking about this yesterday, he was saying that we were trying to work out how long it takes to edit a video. And then he was going, but George, you've got 40 years editing. I said, oh, okay, well, it's just a process I go through. He says, but you're going to do it faster than someone that's only got 10 years editing because of the processes that you go through and there are all the shortcuts that you find. And you're probably doing the same thing with your experience. There are things that you do that work and are successful. And anybody else that comes along that starts to tell you about those things, you suddenly realize, hang on a second, they don't actually have the experience. They shouldn't be telling me what it is that I should be doing in that situation because I'm the expert, not them. And once you get into a language where you're working with people that respect you for what you're doing, that's when you start to realize, hang on, I'm not the imposter syndrome, which I think a lot of us have, that we think that we're not the person that should be telling somebody else.
Actually, Frank, I really like is George has just reminded me what I was trying to say in English to you or anyone else that might be listening ever in the future. God knows where, some aliens. But it's the investor you're looking for is already in the room. It's yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we realize. We are the investor. We're investing our time in us, in our life, in our mental health, in our motivation, in our learning. And what we're packaging first is us. What we're going to brand first is us. The value, the production value you're talking about is, it's how does someone perceive you outside that doesn't know you? It's through your accolades, through the awards, through what people say about you, the testimonial. That's what LinkedIn is. It's the testimonial. What is someone saying behind your back? Are they going, there's a big fucking, 6'6", never shuts up, talks very loud and fast, talks at you. But sometimes when you go beyond that, the ones that are closer, they get the answers. They get the madness. They get the intelligence. They get the access. They get and they don't get the cost. They don't get to be taken for a fool. They are taken for granted. So that's what, we're now working for ourselves in the sense of not for the money, but for the value of time, for the recognize that we are the investment of our time on this planet in what the passion should be and what we're going to get the most out of, I suppose.
Yeah. I think it's a good exercise to sit down and just write down what your value is in monetary terms. I did that for the first time this year, where it was time, hourly rate, equipment rental, time editing. I do marketing, I do graphic design, and I put a number to all of that. And for one of these one-day short films, I came to the conclusion that my value was 5,000 euro.
5,000 euro.
It was 5,000 euro.
I'm going to stop you right now for a second, Frank. The closing statement I made to George last night while we were working out the day rate for the films we're looking at was 5,000 euro a day.
Yeah.
For all the different roles, all the bits, all the time. It's like saying it's not that we're 500 quid a day per one person. It's not a one person thing. No. You mentioned 9 different other roles.
Yeah, because I'm doing everything. Yeah. So you're breaking it down into like those, and same figure, 5,000, and that was like kind of minimum day rate, maybe a little bit more, based on experience. But that's so I'm walking into the room knowing that I'm here offering you 5,000 worth of value per day.
Yes.
And even if I'm not getting that, I'm aware that that's what my value is, and that's what I'm bringing. It's kind of like a suit of armor that I go in with.
No, here's a weird. I'm going to do a weird number for you. You've arrived at the 5 a day. Most shorts out there are 3 minutes to 10 minutes or something. So let's say 10 minutes, and you're doing 3 minutes of production output a day. You're coming to this 5 by 5 grand. So you're finding this 20 to 30,000 pound cost of a short. Now, a feature is just 90 minutes versus 9 minutes. You go, it's 10 times that. So your minimum viable product of a feature of 90 minutes of 5 grand of 3 minutes of output per day is over 300,000 quid. That's why it suddenly hits the section 481. It's not talking about the A-list or anything, or the special effects or the costume drama, just to generate 3 minutes of page a day, 90 minutes, 30 days, 5 grand. It's this multiple of, or we're saying 60 days. It comes to this magic number of about 300,000 quid. And there's no escaping it if everyone just gets the bog standard day rate to turn up.
Absolutely.
And that's why, and I think that's why we fall down as independent filmmakers, is we don't understand that. We don't do the math. We try and go at it like I did with Derelict at 10 grand, and everyone works for free, and you rush it, and everyone's just like pissed off and hungry and tired and cold, and they're not getting paid for it. And you're not getting the full value from everybody by not paying them.
Well, we've actually,
they can be up to a certain.
We've started to realize, because on the 2 feature films that I did, we did 7.5 hours a day, and we also made sure that everybody had the food they needed. And when we did things quicker in a day, and people kind of go, right, can we get on to the next scene? I said no, because that's scheduled for tomorrow. So that's it, you're finished. They were kind of go, oh, that's brilliant. We've actually. They went off excited, and they wanted to come back for more. And in one of the films I made, the main actress got so angry on the next production because they hadn't figured it out. She was working from 4 o'clock in the morning to nearly 2 o'clock at night again. So, a long day. And she just flipped and said, you know what? You don't know what you're about. You don't know how to organize it. And that's getting that budget right in the first place, which is why we keep talking about budgets.
That's back to the accountants again going, once they set the budget on these big productions, they're going, I now want you to do Nosebleed because we're talking about profitability. The money is there. Do as much. We want you to do more than what's paid for as quick as possible so we can be more profitable. That machine is not about the individual. That machine is about the end consumer, the investor, return on investment. We're not in, we keep on moving between that machine and an error machine. We're saying we're not in that machine. We're in micro-production. And what micro-production is it's a different family of film. It's the family. It needs to be the family business of film. And once it is, everyone gets paid. They enjoy the day rate. They enjoy the working environment. They perform. They go home. But they want to do it again in a different story.
I think they get the opportunity to be more creative when that process is set properly, because they're doing normal day work. And in a normal day work, you're not getting stressed out as much because everything's being planned, that you can work things out better so that people do fully, you talked about production design earlier on. We, in our conversation yesterday, were talking about why it was essential to have a production designer on our future projects that we're planning at the moment. And we were saying it's the look, and you do as an audience appreciate that production value once you see the design work in there. So we need to make sure we've got it. But if you're constantly going for the nosebleed, or you end up with all these people wrecked. I've worked on projects where I've done a 42-hour stint, and I couldn't work for a week because I was so ill afterwards. You know what I mean? And that's what the nosebleed jobs are actually forcing people to do. And they don't want to spend all their life working in a career that should be creative, but they do want to work in an industry where they can enjoy life, they enjoy the family, feel as though they're solving problems, which they have to do on that day-to-day basis, but also know at the end of the day, they're going to get paid to do that, to be there, and not sort of scrimp and save.
I love the fact that the word that's coming out left, right, and center is value. You even said it. I actually stopped and I worked out my own value. And only on monetary terms. We shouldn't really be thinking so much the money. We go, no, think the money just because we don't have that figure. Sometimes you say it's 300, it's 500. We go, you're $5,000 going, I'm doing 9 jobs. But no one has seen the evidence of it, because in your brain, you're swapping between one and the other and allowing your project managing a whole project from 8 different silos while sitting looking at something, and no one's aware of it. And they're not going to value what they don't understand, that they don't see the evidence of, that isn't in the budget. Actually, we were talking about the Netflix, paying 130% of production value, maybe, and not giving you access to the end audience anymore, but they might pay you 130% of the buyout. Well, if it wasn't in the 100% to begin with, because it wasn't charged in, then actually you never even got the value, because we never invoiced it in, because it was never charged for, because we gave that extra mile and everyone did, but never charged. And then it can never be earned back. So the one thing I love about what you're saying is we've arrived at our value. We know our time is the most valuable. We're not going to be giving it away for others that are taking it and not valuing it. And actually, they're not investing in you. And so we're all starting to invest in ourselves. And other people need to invest.
And if you do, you invest in yourself, invite people in who are aware of their value. Yes. So you're at the same level.
Now you're getting your co-investors. By definition, it's a new language.
Yeah, and then there's a level of respect there as well, respect for your time, respect for creativity, and even if you are coming in everyone's wearing 9 hats, because that's what happens in the film.
They're giving of it. It's not being taken.
I'm actually, we mentioned earlier on at some point, probably not in the show, but we mentioned just before in the pre-ramble that both Garvin and myself have renovation work going on. There is a project manager on site going around and bringing in and coordinating the different steps and stages of that production, which is our house being fixed up. And I'm sitting there kind of go, that's exactly what it should be for the films that we're working on. Those guys are probably getting between £200 to £500 a day for turning up, and they slot in at a certain time, and they're getting paid. And I'm sitting there going, gee whiz, in the way that things are going, the tradespeople are getting paid more than someone else that's spent and got a degree, has got themselves all these skill sets. So they need to get their value back for the money that they've actually spent on trying to get the qualifications they've got in the first place. So would you experience that from, you mentioned the other craft that you were doing, which is, in the trades. Do you see that, and can you see the parallels?
Oh, completely. I worked on building sites on and off all my life, because that's what my family do. They're builders and painters. And so someone building a house, it's that stage of production, all the way to the finished product, which is a house that then sells. You've built it for 140,000, it sells for 250,000, and you do it over a period of 6 weeks or something. One interesting thing was when I went to Indiana, I worked as a supervisor in a grocery warehouse for a year, and then when I got the job at Apple, I was talking about my film stuff, but they were really interested in the grocery stuff, because the parallel was exactly the same. It was production. It was bringing stuff in, organizing it, and you had, you were dealing with different departments. So you had the truckers, you had the switchers in the yard, you had the offload drivers, you had the put away drivers, you had the product itself, and then you had a time schedule, and you had a list of what was the priority to go out. So the production process is the same, kind of like in the building trade.
I love what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just I said I need to think about film this way.
Now that's what we've done. We've turned indie production for ourselves. We've created our own production process, and we've packaged it down to the 5-minute interval of every function of the business, wrapped around a script, so we know what every scene will cost. Who's there? Everyone's armed. They're there. You have your location. You've got your location budget. You've got your 30 people on standby, full cast and crew. They've got their lines. Now, it's, as you said, we don't know what flavor that ice cream is in that production process. What the story is in there. It's onboarded. But now the cast have to exhibit a talent. The crew have to capture that talent being exhibited, and they set a production design in the background. Better turn that lad into a Rolls Royce of perception, and that's what you're really doing. We've a production process, be it short or feature. It's a $5,000 day of journey, of minute, of opportunity to package creativity with a production process.
Yeah,
is all it is. Now, what you captured at the other end and package could be Blair Witch, it could be Marvel, it doesn't matter. But as you said, if you didn't have the production designer, someone left out the vanilla flavor in the plain ice cream, it ain't what you asked for. The audience changed. They're not going to pay for the bland, flavorless something. It costs the same to produce, but it's whether you're what we're hoping to inject with your relationship of family and friends and story identification is we want that 52 flavors. That's what we're hoping for. We pay for one, but we get 52.
Well, I'm going to jump in now because unfortunately, I'm aware, Frank, you've got to go off and pick up your youngster, which is the family thing, which is actually the thing that should come.
The family thing
should come first, I think, which is really important. So what we'll do is just a little wrap up. So we've actually had a really good conversation with you today, Frank. I think what's really exciting is the fact that we have gone through that kind of film process that you've got into and how you've done it, but you've married it alongside the development of generating an income. But also you found that through the kind of work that you've been doing separate from the film industry, you've seen how it can influence the filmmaking process. And that also is where you started to look at the value that you've had. And what we're excited about in the conversation is that you've come up with a figure for your daily rate, which we were working out the maths for, and we can confirm that, that you're spot on the button. And that's really exciting us because we know from your conversation to us that we're spot on the button, that process is exactly the same thing. And I think, again, what's exciting for us, because we also suffer from that imposter syndrome. I've been doing this for 40 years, and you feel that you're not the person that you should be doing, or you're not as good as somebody else. And you actually need to be working with other people to kind of stimulate you and encourage you and nurture you and actually recognize within you what those capabilities are and things. I think it's really impressive that you've found a technique over the last couple of years to produce, in your own words there, one location, one day, two people, which is where the conflict comes in. And you're getting about 9 minutes a day shooting out of that. And in your words, 10 of those, you've got yourself a feature film shot, which is how you're making your productions. And I think that's exciting. We also, I think, enjoyed the fact that as we got to the end of our conversation, we began to realize how we can value our effort in that, how we can start to look at how we can generate an income from selling those films in the way that you were talking about selling houses. So I think that's fantastic. At this stage, what I normally do is give my guest a little bit of chance. Is there anything you didn't get a chance to say that you'd like to say?
Everything. Didn't let you say anything.
It's all in the book. Buy the book.
Buy the book. There you go. Just tell us the name of the book again so that people can go out and buy it.
It's called 8 Simple Steps to Making Your Short Film, and we're kickstarting it right now for a print run, but it'll be available on a digital platform soon.
Yeah, and also look for print on demand. Look for print on demand through Amazon and the likes of I forget which one it is now. Lightning something or other. I'll let you know about that later on. Sorry, Garvin, you finish off then.
And I'm coming up with 7 simple steps on how to make your short, coming even sooner. So, like to a cinema near you. There you go. Oh, that's good. I like that. So dramatically, that show has ended with Garvin being shot, not by a camera, by a toy gun. Listen, folks, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to you coming and joining us next week, which actually in the next episode is our 100th episode. So that is an exciting time. So you'll probably see this out of order, but it doesn't really matter. But thanks a lot, and thanks for watching, and bye for now. Bye. Thanks a lot. Take care. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.